and welcome to the Men of Doozy podcast.
You know, you might be thinking, what the hell does that mean?
Well, the word doozy means something that is extraordinary or shit. Outstanding.
Do we want to start again?
No. Sorry, keep it professional.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
I'm so
keep it
sorry.
professional.
So
Outstanding of its kind.
And that's a very good point that you made that, because we are neither of those things.
But we absolutely want to be.
Yes, I could not agree more. And that's why we created this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, because it's a podcast that we are going to give you all the tools that you need to help you become successful in life. This is a very serious podcast.
And the best part about this is, we're going to learn how to be successful while we also teach you how to be successful, because you can only be successful. If you're not, then you're not successful, and that's not what we want to be.
You know, when I think about successful, I think that was a very successful way of putting how successfully we're trying to successfully do this.
I would like to thank you for saying how successful that was, and
Yes.
I hope that you are just as successful the rest of the podcast.
I think if I would have to describe the last 15 seconds, I would say this all makes sense to me.
Very successful.
Very successful.
I'm Alex Staub.
And I am Kirk Koz. Welcome, everybody.
Kirk, what are we going to talk about today?
Guys, this is a very
serious podcast. This is a very
topic,
serious
guys.
episode.
This is we're talking about taxes. How to taxes. Yikes.
I'm starting to sweat.
Ooh,
I'm starting to sweat.
Oh my gosh, how much am I going to get back?
What-
how much do
what-
I have to pay?
What is it? What are taxes?
Why do they exist?
Taxes
How do they
are
exist?
everywhere.
What, like, how? It's
Who started this?
it's like air. It just is there.
It's like the iCloud. It's there. It's got all your shit.
But where is the cloud exactly?
I don't know.
You know?
I don't know.
Where are the taxes exactly?
I don't know. Well, today we're going to give you the top 5 tips on how to do your taxes.
And it's very important.
And honestly, we cannot do it by ourselves.
We cannot.
We
I've
cannot
never
do it by
done
ourselves.
myself.
So we have a very special guest today. We have
Yes.
my own brother, who is accredited CPA, right? He's a certified public accountant, okay? The top tier of accounting.
Top tier.
And he knows everything about taxes and what's going down. So we're going to learn from him. Everyone give it up for David Staub.
Welcome back, David Staub.
Yes. You get the award for you're the only person that's come back twice on this podcast.
You're recurring. Yeah.
Give it time. I'm sure somebody will trump me eventually.
Okay. Well, you're successful in relationships.
Successful
you're successful
relationships?
in taxes. I mean, is
mean,
there
what
anything you
can you
can't
not do?
Is there anything you can't do?
Yes. No. I will say that relationship is still going strong. So.
Hey, good for you. Good for you.
Very successful.
Now, you know what I'm sure, what I am sure has changed in your life since having that relationship was probably the taxes that you had to pay.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, this is true. I mean, it's one of the foundations of the many tax principles that exist, right? There's a difference between filing as an individual or filing as a married couple, right? Just one of the many things you have to consider when taking care of your own tax situation.
Okay, so
Wow.
and we have a lot of questions this episode. So say just to sprinkle something to begin with there. So you say filing taxes as a single person or a married person. What does filing as either of those do for the taxes? What does that mean?
Well, look, I mean, there's a lot to understand, when it comes to the differences in, the way that you file. For example, whether you file single or, file as a married couple, or there's head of household, right? There's other ways that you can identify as a tax filer. But ultimately what that does is that drops you into probably the first level of a category that, the IRS evaluates. And what those categories do is they either put thresholds or limitations on, what your tax brackets will be, right? What your tax liability percentage could be, or also what your limits to certain deductions that you can take. So for example, right, if I'm, single living in, an apartment and I make a certain amount of money, my income may be subject to X, tax percent. If I'm married, living in a household, filing with another person, my my income may be subject to a different tax percentage. So it drops you into these different categories. And that's,
So could you say that all again in English?
For the rest of the podcast, please explain it as though we were 5-year-olds.
But no, oh my goodness.
I mean, but that's,
you know what's so
it's crazy
yeah.
that right there is it's. I mean, taxes is
something
the most,
as small
it's
as
the
that.
most structured. You can't.
Yeah.
It sounds like you can't think about something at all with taxes without there being an answer or an answer and then like 3,000 sub answers to that one answer.
That is one of the things about taxes that drives me like, oh my God, you know, like, I'll be honest, like I for some reason had never like seeked out a CPA like you, but I'm like, probably because what?
Kirk, let me ask. Have you ever done your taxes?
I'm here, so I have. If I didn't, I'd be in jail.
Okay.
So I have. How about you? Have you done your taxes?
I've always had other people do my taxes for me.
Well, yeah,
But
or
I've
even
never-
automated online things. That's like,
Yeah, but I've never actually,
yeah.
done my taxes myself. So I don't know. I
Yeah,
just go to like
well, there's
H&R
so
Block
many-
or
there's so
something like
many,
that.
Before we get started, I was going to say, like what you were saying earlier about there's so many subcategories of stuff that it's like, how am I supposed to know whether I have to look after that throughout the year and stuff? And my favorite thing about what's happened so far is you asked the question between single and like codependent or in a couple, and David gave us an answer. That's
Yes.
why I'm excited.
Usually you don't get an answer you don't understand.
Yeah.
But this is good. This is going to be good. Okay.
I'm
Especially
excited.
because your taxes are due next week.
In like 5 days,
Right.
guys. This is what, Wednesday, the whatever.
So get out your pens and your pencils and your pieces of paper, and get ready to do your taxes. Okay.
All right.
These are the top 5 tips, everybody. So we actually have a fun fact. We have a bonus tip right now. We're going to start with. Okay,
Got it.
That David has provided us with. This is the first tip, and it's just a fact. Okay.
Just a
You
fact.
cannot win against the IRS. Okay? The freedom you have in this world, it ain't free. Someone has to pay for it. This isn't about whether what you or someone else is pays is fair. This is about the process of collecting, okay? You owe money, okay?
Yeah.
Just being born into this world, you owe money, right?
That's depressing.
You owe money. And they're going to come to collect. It sounds like the IRS is just a giant mafia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it as a business, right? What is the most important thing to a business success and its survival is the revenues, right? I mean, if you're not making money and you're not collecting revenues, then what's the point of being in business? So now apply that to hundreds of years. I mean, maybe even thousands of years. I mean, you go back to the ancient Romans. I mean, taxes have been a part of, a civilization's ability to not only provide, but also to, I guess, in some dictatorships or, even you hear about like the Iron Ages of the kings, right? Like people prospered from this thing. So it's been around for centuries, right? And you take the US government, I mean, they've put the best of the best into this for years. Like people have thought of everything. I mean, if you think about the systems, the people they have in place, I mean, this is the process of generating money for the United States to provide services back to the public.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, part of the reason why taxes are collected is because it's going towards the culmination of the entire country, correct? Because it helps, right? Is that right?
Yeah, well, you can break it down right into its jurisdictions. I mean, the federal government collects on behalf of the federal processes, right? The states collect on behalf of their own states. Some states within those states have town taxes. I mean, think about your real estate taxes. Think about, New York City. If you live in New York City, not only do you have a federal tax, a state tax, you also have a city tax. Right. I mean, this is the revenues that these places need in order to provide. So, I mean, just like a business, man, it's got to collect. So what I don't want to focus on, right, is you hear it with like, presidents and let's see his, tax returns, right? Everybody's complaining. We remember that whole thing, right? It's like, hey, that guy paid no taxes last year, yet he's making millions of dollars. I mean, look, there's way more to that than meets the eye, but we should just focus on, this is the collection part. This is not necessarily, who gets to win and lose in the tax world.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're not making millions of dollars just yet. But when we do, teach us how we don't pay taxes. Okay? Because I know you know, David. I know you know the secret. All right, well.
You got to do it.
You got to do it.
That's like, basically, to start it off, you have to do it.
Otherwise, it sounds like if you don't, the IRS will just come to your house and just beat you up.
They'll put a hit on you.
Yeah, they'll put a hit on you. They'll beat you up with bats in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You didn't pay taxes on that cup of coffee yesterday. We're collecting.
You're literally born, and there's IRS agents waiting, and they're like, excuse me, baby.
Excuse me, baby.
Have you paid your taxes yet?
Where'd you get that water?
No wonder every baby is crying once they get out.
That's right.
Because they're like, wait, no, I haven't paid taxes.
Put me back.
No, put me back in the womb,
back.
please. It's so much more comfortable.
Put me
there.
back. Well, to go back would cost money, and then you have to be taxed on that as well.
God damn it, you're so right. It's a catch-22.
All right, well, let's jump in here. I'm kind of scared now. I'm scared.
Yeah.
You know what?
I'm scared for my future child.
The episode's not even out yet, and the IRS is watching us right now. That's what's happening. They've hacked into our cameras.
Yeah.
I swear. All right, number 5, everybody. Top 5. Here, go.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Don't wait until the last minute to prepare for your tax filing.
Whoops, if you're watching this.
Whoops. Okay? Whether you have a complex or simple income status, waiting to the last minute can cause you and your tax preparer unneeded stress. It can also cause additional tax burdens that can otherwise be avoided. You got a deadline.
Yeah, you were given a deadline a year prior.
You got a deadline. Look, I'm one of those kids in school where they'd be like, look, you have the final project right before you graduate, and you have all year to do it. I'm building my volcano the night before. Okay? I'm building my volcano the night before. And my mom's doing it for me. Okay? So there you go. That's what kind of person I am.
Gosh, yeah. Well, you know what that makes me. What you saying? Like, oh, the night before, I'm gonna make this person do it. David, have you ever had any times where it's like crunch time? It's in the first few the day or two up until the due dates, and somebody's coming out to you and saying like, well, not coming out to you, asking for your services. Excuse me.
I'm sure.
Can you do my taxes?
Yes. No. And to be clear, I won't turn away any sexually preferred.
That's really respectful of you.
Yeah.
So, but you would be the worst client ever if you gave me all of your stuff the last day. But it happens. I mean, people wait till the last minute. Sometimes they don't even do it on time, and then they suffer the problems after the fact, right? But there's one thing that every American has that's available to them. They have the right to extend their tax return filing, right? And so here's something that people may not know. I mean, you don't even have to necessarily have a qualified reason. You just may need more time, right? So this year is a little bit different, obviously, because of the extension. But generally, every year, somebody, as long as they file an extension form by the due date of April 15th, or in this case, the middle of May, right? If they file an extension form, they can extend their tax filing until October.
Until October?
6 months. You do a 6-month extension.
It stops over here like,
okay, perfect. And so, okay, so let me ask, what happens when you don't file your taxes and you miss the due date and you haven't filed the extension?
Well, then the clock starts on penalties and interest, right? So if you don't file, right, then basically the IRS says your return is late. I have the right to assess you a penalty. And then if the longer it takes for you to pay that penalty, interest starts accruing on that, because the IRS is basically looking at themselves like a bank. They're owed this money. And if they're not paid this money, not only do you owe them the money, but you're owing them interest for the fact that they're having to, kind of make good without having your funds in hand.
And that's just for existing in a state.
And
because you have to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just for being an American.
Wow. I'm picturing the agent from the Matrix, right?
Yeah, right. That's what I think of too.
Like all the agents from the Matrix.
Like
that's
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. That right,
you
Mr.
missed
Smith,
your
right?
Tux due
Right,
day.
Mr. Smith, right? And that's just showing up to work, and they're like, "Where is he?" Yep.
And you know who Neo is?
Yeah.
He's always evading taxes. They're like, he's the one. He evades taxes.
That's right.
He's the chosen one. He knows how to evade taxes.
The Matrix was about tax evasion.
Not technology, tax evasion.
Tax evasion. Yeah, but that's also like in that scene in the first movie where he's like hiding and shifting through like the cubicles to get away from him. That would be me, 100%.
The tax
and you'd be on the phone. You'd be like, Alex.
Listen,
Alex, go to the cubicle to the left.
To the left. Okay, now there is a crane on the outside window. You're going to have to jump off the building.
I'll do it.
Do you want to evade these taxes?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Jesus.
Blue pill or red pill?
Give me both.
If you take the blue pill, you have to live in America and you have to pay taxes every year. Red is a little more dangerous.
Pill kills you.
Red pill kills you, but you evade taxes
I'll
forever.
do both. What's the difference?
I mean, you guys really took that one.
Yeah. Well, it helped me kind of understand what we're talking about.
Right.
In
Now
a
I
way
understand.
that,
Now I understand.
Oh, exactly. That's. But no, I think at the end of the day, it's you can plan ahead, right? I mean, you kind of know what your year's going to be like. You know what information to expect. You're whether it's yourself or your tax preparer, like you're going to need this information. So, like, if you want to avoid some stress, start getting your information together early. I mean, put it to the side, save it down. This way you don't feel like you're running around last minute. You're not making your life crazy. You're not making somebody else's lives crazy. And then, you always have that extension option if you need to use it.
That's another thing I was going to say. Like, by the time that you're coming up on that tax due date, if you have one job or different jobs, I mean, being in the creative world, sometimes you're getting multiple W-2s or different things like that.
Yeah, so I
and you
usually
have to
just
keep
wait,
them all together and
Yeah.
stuff. It can be a little confusing, but
Yeah, I usually just wait for all the companies to send my W-2s. But if they don't, because sometimes they just don't, I know which, jobs I've worked for because I'm freelance. So, like, I'll either reach out or, like, I'll know what payroll company they work for so I can take it from them and whatnot. Because I got to pay.
I've had to pay since I was a baby.
Because I got to pay, okay?
Yeah. This is a really great start. You got to pay. This is a great start.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, just who, like, why? Why do I have to pay for everything? Who started this? It goes back to the Romans and whatnot, but like it's
what were they, like, the best civilization or something?
It's crazy that someone was just like, okay, you know what? I own this land. If you want to live here, you gotta pay me to be on this land. You know what? I get it from a bigger perspective. I get it now. I'm gonna apply to the IRS. If you can't beat them, join them. Right?
I guess back then, right? I mean, I'm simplifying it. I mean, a lot of the tax was to support, safety and, the defense of the land that you lived in, right? And so a lot of the taxes went towards the armies. And, I think some civilizations took that to another level, or instead of just defending themselves, they said, we're going to tax you so that we can go conquer and get more land. But I mean, apply that today, right? I mean, look at our military, look at the spend in our military to, I mean, I without getting into that whole end of it, right? I mean, we assume the military is, protecting us, providing us our freedom. And, but that comes with a cost. There's people out there risking their lives. I mean, look at the police forces, the firemen, right? I mean, medical, think of all the medical aid that, people need, all that costs money. All that is funded by the government and funded by your tax dollars.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing is forgetting that the taxes help with those, like, just basic human rights type of things by living in the country.
So,
are you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's move on. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Wow.
Guys, we're moving on to this is so interesting. I hope you guys are engaged.
Yeah, don't be late to pay your taxes.
Don't be late. Don't do it last minute.
Mr. Smith is going to come.
Yeah. Guys, the fourth top tip is know your tax payment role. The government wants their share, whether it's paid by you or your employer. Employers are required to withhold taxes as payments are made. The self-employed and other self-earners don't have this obligation on receipt, but the payment obligation remains. So
the government wants their money. They don't sound friendly at all. There's
it's so wants their share.
They want their money, and you're obligated.
That point is depending on what your situation is, the IRS wants their money. And I'll give you an example. All right, if you were employed by an employer, right, whenever you get your payment, right, whether it's biweekly, monthly, however it is, right, somebody could sit there and say, I'm going to pay you X dollars, but you don't actually get that money in your account. You get whatever is left after the IRS takes the money beforehand, right? Because the IRS says, I'm not going to wait till the end of the year for you to file your tax return and decide what you have to pay me. I'm actually going to make it your employer's obligation to pay me while you're getting paid, so that I don't have to sit around until the end of the year and wait, right? So that's the tax withholding obligation.
Oh, so that's why when I get my paycheck and it's supposed to be like $1,800, for some reason I'm only getting $1,300.
Yeah, or $100.
Or $100.
Or $100. And that's because, yeah, that's.
So they want their money right now.
Yeah, that's so. When you get the paychecks, they take it.
Greedy
they just rip it out while you get paid. I mean, because then at the end, that's what I do. I do my taxes where my paychecks, they take out the maximum amount, and then at the end, they owe me all this money because they took out too much. Okay.
Well, that's where, you could refine your withholding status that it's called, let's get technical. I think it's an I-9, right? It's a form that you fill out when you renew your employer, right? And that's where you make your elections on your withholding exemptions, right? And so you can always go back to your employer and say, you're withholding too much because I want to get my money earlier. I don't want to have to wait until I file a return, because basically what you're doing is you're giving an interest-free loan to the government in that case. If you're getting money back every time you file a tax return, that's free money you're giving the government for a temporary holding period.
So, yeah, but then I get free money back. Well, no, that's my money. They took too much of my money away.
Yes, you're getting your own money back is what that is at a later point in time.
Okay, so I'm gonna change. So what? Say I was filing. Would I do? Normally I do a 0. Would I file for like 1 or 2? Does that make sense? Yes. You would alter your withholding exemptions so that you could get more cash now. Because ideally, with it, where you want to be is you're never going to break exactly even. There's just the math doesn't work like that. But, ideally you want to be in a place where you have to make a small payment when you file your tax return, because that means you've maximized the cash that you are getting upfront. And then maybe you owe something slightly back to the IRS because, that's just the way the calculation works. Or, maybe you're still getting a return, but it's a smaller amount. Ultimately, if you're filing your tax return and you're getting a big chunk of money back, that means they've been withholding too much money from you, or your employer has been withholding too much money over the course of the year, and you've given the government an interest-free loan and that's basically you just getting your money back at a later time. So what do I file? 1, 2?
Let's take that off. So let's do that offline.
Have you done your taxes yet?
Please. What do I do? I'm doing it. I'm doing my taxes as we're doing the episode. And so for question 6, what do I write? The
I
maximum what?
Listen,
I don't know what your situation is. I don't know what your,
It's bleak.
you got to consider before, I can't just tell you what number to put. Like, we'd have to go through kind of a checklist. And to be honest, I don't remember what all the questions are.
They're taking baths with my money, is what you're saying. And then they're like, okay, we're done with it. Here you go. Here's the money we've just been withholding.
My goodness.
So would it be smart to, instead of have them take the money out per paycheck, to just get your maximum payment, right? And then save the money that you owe them taxes-wise, and then, but like have that money that you owe them, put that in like a certain account that maybe makes its own money, so that when you the money that you owe them, you're making money off of, and then you just give the money that you owe them, but that money made money.
This is the most.
Does that make sense?
This is the most I've ever had to think during.
Does that make sense? Look at him. He's shaking his head like this is stupid. I've heard this isn't the first time you heard someone say this stupid shit, huh?
They believe me, they've thought of that. And so the other point that I was going to make, or the other example is, let's say you are self-employed, right? And you make money independently providing services, or, somehow, right? So you don't work for an employer. It is now your obligation to make intermediary payments to the government throughout the course of the year. So in your situation, the government's thought of that. They're like, no, you don't get to earn interest off of our money and just pay us later. You actually have the obligation to pay us as you're making money. So there's a quarterly process that, self-employed individuals have to go through.
Because people who are self-employed, they one thing that they have to do is usually file every quarter, right?
Yes. Right. Yes, exactly.
I'm learning. Oh, man.
Well, it's not. They don't file anything. They just make a payment. It's called an estimated payment on a quarterly basis.
Gotcha.
That's if they're their own business?
Well, or if it's like or if you're just, maybe you're a consultant, and instead of getting a W-2, which is the employer's obligation to withhold from your compensation, maybe you're just a self-employed person and you provide consulting services. A company pays you $10,000 for some sort of service you provided. They issue you what's called a 1099. And generally there's no withholding on that. I mean, I think there's an option to, but they're just going to hand you the $10,000 gross. You now have an obligation to determine how much of that you have to pay to the IRS, and you have to do it over throughout the course of the year. The IRS is not going to wait until the end of the year to get all your money.
You want to move on?
They won't help you out. So they won't let you make interest off of the money that you owe them.
That's their money. They don't want you making interest off of their money.
But they're making interest off my money, right? They're doing some weird stuff with my money.
Yeah.
Pay for them. They can make interest off your money.
Can I make my own IRS? Is there any unclaimed land?
And I can start to tax.
I'll start taxing the animals at first. Okay. Wow. I hate them. You can't make money off our money. That's disgusting.
Moving on?
Yes.
I'm learning a lot.
Give me the red pill. Okay, let's go.
Give me the red pill.
My turn? It's my turn.
Yeah, it's your turn.
I'm just like...
Guys, we're in the top 3 tips.
Okay, number 3, everyone. Tax evasion is illegal, okay? But tax avoidance is encouraged. I'm not evading. I'm just avoiding.
It's just hard to catch.
Yeah, I'm just a little... Okay, it's true. There is a difference, and the IRS provides tips on how you can benefit. Okay, they really have thought of everything. They're like, here are some tips on how you can benefit from us. Yeah, great.
Wait, did they? Is it correct to say that? Oh, you want to avoid? Okay, well, here's a few ways you can avoid as well. Yeah. But we're gonna tax, or we're gonna put interest on your money.
Each year, the U.S. government releases relevant ways businesses and individuals can save on their tax filings. However, you can be assured they are banking on you not taking advantage of it all. Don't worry. If anything is really applicable to the masses, you'll at least have seen it through the media in some fashion. But will you act on it?
Will you act on it?
Will you act?
On it.
On it. Okay, so you can't. Okay, so the evasion is just you never do it, and the avoidance is which is illegal. And the avoidance is just like, I'm gonna extend my filings till October, blah blah blah. I'm not, what's the avoidance? How, David?
Could you give more?
David, off the record. We're not recording right now. We're not recording. We're not recording anymore. How does one avoid taxes?
All right. So the avoidance of tax exists in all, just an avoidance of tax is all the deductions and criteria that exists out there, whether it's business deductions, personal deductions, exemptions that you obtain. Like, for an example, as your family grows, right, you get additional exemptions for each child that you have. So that's a reduction in your taxable income status each year. So those are very generic and constant examples of avoidance that generally everybody takes advantage of. But over the course of time, we've had several instances where you have new presidential elections, right? And the president comes out and says, I'm going to save everybody on taxes. And he, works with the IRS and they put out a mandate. But generally all these mandates are to promote something, right? So I'll give you an example, right? If we go back to a couple, several years ago, right? There was a green energy push, right? Sustainability, and it still exists today, but there are tax credits that people get if they reinvest in their homes, right? So, but in an efficient way. And an example would be, let's say I own an old home and I need all new windows, right? I install energy efficient windows throughout my house, right? That costs money. Maybe it costs me $5,000 to replace all my windows. Well, there is a tax credit that you can take for the fact that you've done that. Now, I don't know the exact dollar amount, but there is an election or, a credit through your tax filing process where you can say, yes, I've done this. Here's the cost. And the IRS will say, okay, pay us $500 less this year because you're taking advantage of this X Sustainability Act or, Greenhouse Emissions Act. And, this year we're providing, an additional deduction for anybody that reinvests in, efficiency in their home. So that's one example, but you may not know that exists, right? Because there's what I just gave you is one out of 1,000 different initiatives that come out during the year that farmers, self-employed people. I mean, you would have to read through code or hire a professional to just have an idea that some of these exist. Now, if it's really meaningful, you're going to see it on the news. Somebody on CNN is going to say, hey, put this up on our website because we want clickbait, and everyone's going to want to sit there and say, oh, can I take advantage of that? So if it's really meaningful, you've probably heard of it, but just know that there are thousands of, avoidance tactics that you can take over the course of the year.
What's the biggest avoidance tax you think is out there
or consistently done?
The most widely applied would probably be student loan deductions.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
Believe me, I think students probably know about these, but I would say that's the largest example of an avoidance tactic that exists that maybe somebody doesn't know about. And because here's for one thing for sure, if you file your tax return and the IRS gets it and then somebody says they're reviewing, they're like, oh well, this person paid student loan interest but they didn't take the credit, the IRS isn't going to call you and say, oh sir, you didn't take the credit here. You redo this and owe us less money. They're not doing that. But on the flip side, if you hand in a return and it's wrong and you owe them money, rest assured they're going to be like, sir, you effed up here. You redo this and give us more money.
Wow.
So the IRS is sitting there. They're all sitting there at lunch, right? They're all having lunch together, and they're like, yo, these guys did not take the student loan credit, right? And then they go and they write their own lunch off.
Listen, I'm a lunch salesman.
I'm a lunch salesman.
IRS. Oh my
We're the
God.
IRS. We can do anything.
Oh my God. They're just waiting. They're sitting and waiting for people to make those mistakes. It feels like.
That's.
I'm not pointing to them saying that they are, but it feels like that.
It feels as though it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like it may be like that.
Like what?
I don't know.
Well, okay.
Wow.
And you also said what? Having kids is a big reduction too?
Well, it's just so there's exemptions, right? An exemption is you're exempt from certain amounts of your income being taxable, and for each child or the like for each child that you have or each member of your household, your exemption status goes up. So think of Octomom. That's a lot of exemptions on her tax return.
Okay. So
Wow.
Start cranking out babies.
Cranking out babies.
Cranking
You'll
out
get some
babies.
money back. Yeah.
Start cranking out babies, get some money back. Okay.
Now just remember, those babies are gonna need to pay tax.
So remember, that's a lot of taxes, babies.
You're gonna have 8 babies who are gonna need to pay taxes.
That's a lot of tax.
Wow. This
Wow.
is oof. I'm
If you can avoid it, do it, but don't evade it.
avoid. Don't evade. You heard it here, folks.
Avoid it, don't evade it. No. Yeah. No, evade it, don't avoid it.
Wait. No. Wait.
What?
Evade it.
Oh, evasion.
Avoid it. Evasion.
Avoid
is
it, don't evade it.
He almost fucked himself over.
No, I didn't mean it. No, I didn't mean it. Yeah, we got people swinging in from the windows right now. What'd you say?
They're like, why is there a red dot on your forehead?
Go behind.
Wait.
Go under the desk. Take the elevator to the 4th floor. Jump on to the scaffolding. Okay. Yeah, it's Morpheus. Yeah.
And then when you get to safety, Morpheus is like, "Hello, my name is W2. This is my friend 1099 and 1098
Yes.
and W4
Yes.
and 1099 miscellaneous."
Yes. Would you like to avoid or evade?
The blue pill
It's evasion.
is avoiding. The red pill is evading. What do you want to do? I don't get
I don't understand. So have 8 kids is what you're
Wait, is
saying.
having just 8 babies an option?
Wow.
Okay, moving on, guys. We're
That's
in the top
totally
2.
what the IRS is, dude. We're not.
Dude, we're not
It's the
joking.
Matrix.
It's absolutely
Rewatch
the
The Matrix, but they're just avoiding the IRS.
I'm going to watch The Matrix again, and it's going to blow my mind thinking about taxes.
Yeah.
Guys, we're in the top 2 tips. The top 2 tip is the more you make, the more you pay. It's true some of the tax breaks only exist for the wealthy, but make no mistake, that does not pertain to everyone unless you have, at minimum, a basic understanding of the tax world. Just be conservative and you won't be stuck in the end. As your personal wealth grows, pay a professional for help, like a CPA, like David Staub. Don't even get me started on states. That's
Don't get me started.
That's what a Dave says. Don't even get you started on states. Why do you say that?
We don't want to get into the states because look.
So let's talk about states, Dave.
The more complicated or the more money you make, right? Or let's just say the more, I don't know how extravagant your lifestyle is, right? Where, or your business, where you perform the services. All that stuff just adds to the complexity. Think of understand. So what? There's every state has a different filing method, right? Or different set of rules. No state is the same. So imagine, some states don't even have income taxes. Why do you think everybody moves to Florida to retire? The state does not charge income taxes. They have real estate taxes. They have other forms of taxes, but they don't have individual state taxes against your income. So that's why everybody retires there, because their dividends and interest that they earn isn't taxed at the state level. Now, they still have to pay federal taxes, but that's just an example of how different states treat the income that you make as an individual living in that state. Now put yourself in the shoes of a baseball player, right? Think of how many states that guy, is performing the service for his employer, right? Every state that he, that's a state he has to file.
Oh my God.
What?
That's insane. Well, because it's
Wait, so
like
the Red Sox go to Washington or Idaho or whatever to play somebody. The money that they make from that game they get taxed in every state, a different tax, and they get taxed on their home state too.
Where are they working?
That is so true. It's like when you're I mean the way that I would make sense out of it is if you are like filming a movie or a TV series in a different state. I mean, I guess it's the same thing.
Also, I always thought people moved to Florida to retire because they were just old and the weather was nice.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't know it was all about taxes. What? Taxes? We're going to Florida. What are we doing here?
What are we doing? Yeah, you know what? That makes so much sense out of the people that I've seen move to Florida.
No state taxes. So what does that mean? No state taxes. What does that mean?
Well, look, I mean, the state has to generate revenue from somewhere. So they do tax businesses. They do tax real estate, right? I mean, you pay real estate taxes on your property. But when you are an individual, like if I worked in the state of Florida, right, I would have to file a federal tax return. I would still have to file a state tax return, but I would not pay any tax to the state of Florida for the revenue that the money that I've made from my company.
Oh.
And there's a couple states like that. And why the states do that is to promote growth in their state. There's one of the reasons why people go to Florida.
Yeah, to get more people to go there.
So explain to me, like why
New Hampshire, right?
New Hampshire?
Doesn't New Hampshire have no taxes?
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I think New Hampshire does. It's like some like 1%, or it's like really small. But I don't know. I can't remember every state. But like, I know Wyoming's one. Wyoming's another one of those states.
Let's go.
So, David, I have a question. I know we said earlier, it's something. It's too political. It's something that we as a podcast and people just don't want to get into. But it says the more you make, the more you pay. Where is like the stemming problem that comes from people saying like, oh, this wealthy person isn't paying any taxes? Why is that? Is there a broad answer that you could answer that with, or I'm just confused by it?
Let's not name names, but let's say that there have been instances where the assumption is that the wealthy don't pay taxes. All right. In a funnel or in a specific window, you might understand that a wealthy person has not had to pay much in tax that year. But granted, they have had to pay taxes in other years. And I'll give you there's I guess the easiest way to explain this is, let's say I'm a wealthy individual and I took a bunch of my money and I put it into a business, and that business, I lost all my money and it was all losses, right? But let's say I lost $100 million on that business. And then my other businesses, I made $50 million, right? Well, the way that it works is I have $100 million in losses and $50 million in profits from other places. So when I combine them together, I have $50 million in losses, right? Well, the IRS doesn't say, well, since you're at a net loss, I got to pay you money. That's not how it works. The IRS never pays for your losses. But what they say is, well, you can take that $50 million loss and you can roll that forward and apply it to your future year's incomes, right? Because that's money that you have. That's, generally if you're investing money, it means it's post-tax money. It's already been taxed. So that's free and clear. So the IRS is basically saying, if you've lost some of your already free and clear money, and you haven't been able to apply that against, other earnings to the year, you can roll that forward. So in certain cases, when somebody looks in a vacuum at a particular year or two and says, hey, that guy paid no taxes. Well, that's what like the news is saying, because it's like, hey, look at that. They never paid taxes in 2019. And it's like, okay, well, if you look at 2017 and 2018, they probably had so much losses that they've continued to roll them forward. And so that's I guess the easiest way that I can explain it is, generally if you are wealthy and very active in businesses, you're going to have years of profit and gain. And believe me, they pay taxes in those years of gain.
Gotcha.
I think the one other thing to consider is that generally the stipulation is that the wealthy have more accessibility to investing their money, right? So if I'm investing money, that subjects me to different tax rates, right? So if I'm just a worker and I'm out there working for a company, that's ordinary income. That's taxed at the highest tax rate. But if let's say I don't work and the only thing I do is invest in the stock market, that's capital gains taxes. Generally speaking, the longer I hold those investments for, the lower my tax percentages. So there's this, common theme that, the wealthy generally have to pay less in tax. They have a lesser tax rate because they have the ability to invest money, whereas the poor only have the ability to work for their money and have to pay at a higher tax rate. So I don't know if that's helpful.
That is actually very helpful,
that's great. That's just a lot to download.
Sense.
Yeah. So okay.
It's extensive as hell.
So is it smarter to just kind of well, obviously. So what I mean, but I mean, if I got 50 grand in the stock market, that's not gonna give me a tax break, right? Or it's got to be like a certain level of like volume or like.
So volume does not apply to revenues. Like there's not the only place where there's well, right now, I don't want to get into what's changing, right? Because our current president is, he's pushing greater equality amongst, the middle and trying to get back to this like middle class idea, right? So one of the big things he's pushing for right now is what we just talked about, which was that capital gains tax rate. His new agenda is to actually make that rate higher for people who make a lot of money, which, I mean, it makes sense because the government needs money. But, if you're part of the wealthy class and you're sitting there saying, well, I've been able to live in this world of investing money and paying at a lesser tax rate, that's why they're mad, is because really their taxes are going to go up even higher. But, at the end of the day, I think where you're just if you're a worker and you're employed and you make ordinary income, that you're more subject to these standard tax brackets. The tax brackets are, there's only a few of them, and they cap out at in the upper, I think close to 40% is kind of the cap. It's 39.6%, and that's at the federal level. So if you make, I think it's I don't know, I want to say 400,000, right? If you make $400,000 or above, all your money from your employer or on an ordinary basis is taxed at 39.6%. And then you have your state tax, right? So you get close to a 50% tax rate on all your money. Whereas if you make less, you kind of fall into these lower tax brackets. But the capital gains tax that I was mentioning, that just stays. That doesn't dictate necessarily what tax bracket you're in, but that could change, because that's what our current president is suggesting, is that if you're in a higher tax bracket, your capital gains tax rate should be, closer or equal to what your ordinary rate is. It's a lot.
I'm thinking, yeah. Wow. And so
I know. This is it.
But I will be honest, the thing that this is making me actually look forward to is in the near future hiring a CPA, because I am learning so much that there is things that I don't know about, or that I don't necessarily need to know about, but that it's a job for you to know this and to look after people and help them out. It is this is all so helpful. We have one more tip. We have our final tip.
So, and I still have no idea how to do my taxes. I don't know. I'm speechless here, David. This is.
It's like Alex is going to file an extension.
I need to file an extension.
Yeah, you need to go file an extension.
I need an extension.
To avoid. You need to start avoiding.
I need an extension. No, but this is all cool, because once you understand it all, you'd be able to like make little adjustments to, to avoid things here, get a little more money back here, blah, blah, blah. It sounds like there's so much going on that there are loopholes that are in there that you can do legally, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, there's things to take advantage of. And I think, as long as, the CPA or the tax professional is supposed to be that middleman, right? He's been certified by the government to act on their behalf to provide for you, the most ethical and best services that he can. And to Kurt's point, like the CPA is there to actually look out for you and say, hey, let's talk 2-3 times a year. What's going on? If you're doing this, keep this in mind, keep track of this information, and it's supposed to, help you out in the end. I mean, yes, the CPA has to earn money, and, your tax return will actually cost you more money, but it'll be helpful in the long run.
Gotcha. I mean, it's a basic question, but you have clients that you're looking out for throughout the year.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
so just to be clear, I am a CPA. I am not currently acting as a CPA. I do assist my friends and family, but I've taken my external provided services, and now I internally provide them to the company that I work for. So I don't actually provide tax services to individuals, but I have to stay certified. So I have to keep up with my continuing professional education. I have to take ethics training, right? So the CPA is there for the people, but he's also there to give kind of this assurance to the IRS on behalf of you as an individual that the CPA has kind of checked all the the I's and crossed the T's with respect to your tax.
It's quite a noble profession. You are constantly having to educate yourself because taxes are always changing, right? In a way. Wow.
Yeah, and you're like the golden goose of that one company where the IRS is like, hey, and they're like, no, we got a CPA, and they're like, oh, okay, and they're paying you to just have you be the private person who looks after all their stuff that they're going through.
To some extent, but we'll agree on that. Yes.
Okay.
I like the golden goose. I like that.
Yeah, golden goose.
David Golden Goose style.
The golden goose.
All right, guys,
Wow.
we have made it to our final tip
Wow.
on how to taxes.
Yeah.
Stop. Do you think you're in a level mind
I am
space?
definitely filing extension.
I'm definitely
Yeah.
avoiding and filing an extension.
Yeah. David, have you ever been like had a company meeting and you were like, they're like, David, how are we doing this year? And you're like, well, we're not evading, we're just avoiding. Okay, we're gonna avoid this year. Okay, we're not gonna evade. All right. God damn it, David, you're our golden goose.
Hey, everything I do is by the book. And
Right.
if we save money on taxes, it's because the IRS allowed us to do so.
Yeah, there you go. Gotcha.
And then during the meeting, he gets a phone call, and it's me. I'm like, David, get under the table. Get under the table and crawl to the fire escape.
Get out the fire escape.
Get
You're
out
going to
the
slide
fire
down.
escape, slide
Your hands are going to hurt, but...
Slide down, and then jump off the building. We will catch you in the helicopter. 3, 2, 1. Okay, number one. We're at the number one tip,
Number
everyone.
one tip.
Are your taxes done?
We'd probably be
Did you
talking enough
did
for
you
to
book the next flight to Florida?
because we have.
Because we have. Did you file 1 or 2? Which one?
You have any babies
You
yet?
have any babies? How many babies you got? Huh? Did you take the red pill or the blue pill? Okay, great.
All right.
Number one. This is the number one tip, everybody,
Let's do it.
for taxes. You can't just write it off. If you thought of it, so has the IRS. They are smarter, faster, and have one of the largest computer systems in the world. This is some Terminator
This is
shit.
some fucking like 1984
This is some
dystopian shit.
This is some Terminator shit. Don't stress over the small items. It's not worth it in the end.
IRS is the IRS is Skynet.
Basically. So if I go to the IRS and I'm like, can I write off this piece of gum? My breath was really bad today. They won't let me. You have bad breath.
Not unless if you're making money off of your breath, right? If your self-employment income is dictated by your breath, the gum is not a deductible item for you.
I'm a breath salesman.
I'm a breath salesman. I sell breaths.
I sell breaths to people and to companies.
The premise here is, and I brought this up because, working in the tax industry, people are always like, hey, can I write this off? Can I write that off? And look, there's definitely cases where it makes sense. Like if you are self-employed and you work from home, or if you are involved in real estate and you have to use your car to drive around, right? And, so you can deduct miles, you can, there's a certain standard cents per mile that you can deduct, right, from your taxable income. If you work from home, you can, measure out the size of your working space in comparison to your entire home, determine like what percentage that is, and apply that to all your utility bills, your phone bill, right? Maybe the only reason why you have internet to begin with is because you work from home, right? So you can apply that as like a business expense. But to just apply deductions for not necessarily any business reason is what they're trying to avoid, because they've thought of that. And believe me, there are cases upon cases of people trying to get clearance for different write-offs, but it has to be I guess business applicable. It has to be applicable to your source of revenue. And I'll give you one example that I think is something that I don't know, maybe it'll hit at home. We'll see based on the reaction. But for a while, this wasn't allowed. But now it is allowed, is that, if you are in the professional dancing industry, and when I say professional dancing, I mean, of the erotic nature, you can now deduct the cost of your breast implants.
Wow. So Florida, breast implants.
David, that definitely hits home. that hits home, David. Okay? And thank you for noticing.
And I don't know that it would apply in every situation, but there have been cases where they've allowed the deduction, because it's been proven that the cost of doing that is an improvement to your revenue stream. And take that for what it's worth.
It's true.
Yeah, well, David, that's one of the big things that I've always had trouble with when it comes to taxes, because in a way, I guess being an actor, it is kind of freelance in itself. And I've known plenty of friends and colleagues who they will create an LLC just in their name, and then certain things for instance, big yearly things that I have to do is my submission sites, or certain auditions, or printing resumes, or different things. Are those things that I could write off technically
Yeah. So look, if you're in the business of, where, I mean, I don't know your exact situation, right? But it sounds like if you are independently out there seeking, acting jobs, right? And part of that, and in order for you to sell yourself, right? Because you're selling yourself in that situation. And in order for you to better sell yourself, you have to put headshots together. That's a justifiable expense for you to obtain a greater revenue stream. What you can't do, though, is you can't sit there and say, I've made no money this year, but I did pay for headshots, so let me take a deduction, right? The IRS is never going to let you, you've got to you can't just apply deductions to other revenue streams. It's got to be practical. It's got to be within the same context. You can't just, you can't just not pay taxes in a year because you decided, that you weren't going to recognize the revenues and incur all these expenses and apply them to your other, professional jobs that you have. It doesn't work like that.
That's the clarification that I need. That's very helpful, actually. That's one of the biggest questions I've always had.
I had so I'm in the entertainment industry, right? Television. And I was able to write off my cable bill because my excuse was I was watching movies for research. I was watching television for research, right? And then they no longer allow you to do that. You can't do that anymore now.
Well, do me a favor. Say that again without the quotations, because this is live.
I'm sorry. I was watching movies for research.
I believe him.
I didn't go like
I
that.
believe him.
I was watching movies for research.
Alex, I need you to
Get under the table. Hit the fire escape.
I need you to go to the
They're
fire
coming
escape.
around the corner.
They're coming around the left corner.
Exactly. No, but you can't do that anymore, I guess, because everyone was like, "Yeah, I was watching TV last night because I work in TV, and that's what it is. I get ideas."
Well, like, but you're in that business, right? I work for a company where I provide accounting services. I can't sit there and say, oh, I'm going to deduct my cable bill because I watched the movie The Accountant with Ben Affleck the other night.
Which doesn't really have anything to do about accounting.
What do you mean this isn't justified? Ben Affleck is an accountant. I'm an accountant. The accountant. Okay?
It lines up.
It was for research for accounting. Okay?
Sir, he kills people in this movie and calls himself an accountant. I don't see what's wrong.
Oh man.
Oh my
That was
God. Well,
That's the trailer right there.
oh dude, we got plenty.
Rebecca, my wife, is in real estate, right? Her office is basically whether she's working at home or it's the various houses that she's showing or staging, right? And she's got to take her car to drive to all these locations. So she keeps track of her miles. She can apply, I think now it's 55 cents to each mile, and that adds up, right? I mean, at the end of each year, we can deduct close to like $2,000, from her income because, she's traveling all over towns to provide.
Yeah. 50 cents a mile is a lot when it adds up. 100%. Wow.
Well, good Lord. I learned a lot.
So, how do you do your taxes?
I think this is the first real episode that I will actually
so
watch back intently, very, very study it.
All right, so you can't win against the IRS.
You can't win, yeah.
Don't wait till the last minute to prepare for your taxes.
Don't do that.
Okay, or they'll beat you. Okay, with bats.
They'll put a hit on you.
They'll put a hit on you. Know your tax payment roll because if you get it wrong, they'll put a hit on you.
They'll put a hit on
okay,
you.
Tax evasion is illegal,
but tax
avoidance
is
is
encouraged.
encouraged.
So
Either way, they're putting it. The hit's still on you. The more you make, the more you pay, and the more you make, the more you pay.
Yeah.
And
if you write off something that you really can't write off, there's going to be a hit on you.
Yeah, there's going to be a hit on you. You can't just write things up. Okay. So in terms of filing taxes, okay, I have a question. Do you have a quick step process where okay, you get your W-2s and then you go to TurboTax or whatever, and then you just input all that info and then you do what, and then you get your deduction or your bonus or whatever, your refund, and then you're filed or whatever, right? Actually, maybe I should bring this up or I shouldn't, but I tried to file my taxes last year and my identity was stolen.
Oof.
Yeah. Some guy tried to file under me before I filed mine, and it bounced back on him, and then it was just this whole mess.
So messed up.
And then the IRS shut down to COVID, so I'm sitting there, and all my bonus checks are going, who knows God's where. So, but now I got my, but now after talking to the IRS, we're very close, okay? My Social Security it is under full surveillance, even on the black market from the IRS. And if anyone even sneezes without my say so,
your 3-step verification.
Exactly. Then if someone uses my social somewhere, they're flagged and they're gonna get a hit on them. Okay.
I do have to ask a question though. Are you the real Alex Staub?
Yeah. No, I'm Ben Affleck. The accountant. The accountant.
Oh, guys. Oh, my God.
Well, okay, so David, do you have any final words about taxes?
Somebody's got to pay. Who's it going to be?
Oh, man.
See, this is just a giant mob. That's all it is. Someone's gonna pay. Okay, who's it gonna be?
This has been fun. This has been fun. Thanks for having me again. And let me know if there's anything else that
What
I
else
do
you
in
got?
my life that could help you guys.
What else could you do to surprise us?
Yeah, how to know the difference between evasion and avoiding.
We could do a 50 minutes on
50
that.
minutes on that. Yeah.
Oh my God, guys! Thank you so much for watching the Meta Doozy podcast. Please
Yes.
comment what your favorite tip was, and if you
Are doing your taxes.
have a tip for how to do your taxes, please let us know how you know more than a professional, because that would be hilarious.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you don't.
Share this with friends, okay?
Please.
We're on Twitch, okay? We're on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We're on Instagram. We might be on Twitter soon. We're
Yeah.
on a whole bunch of different stuff, okay? So
Definitely.
check us out.
We're-
Share with
we're
your friends
we're posting on Instagram all the time. That's where the party is at.
every day.
And if there is something that you want to learn about and have us teach you while we also learn about it, let us know.
Because we'll bring David on because he knows everything.
Apparently.
Makes sense to me?
Makes sense to me. Hey, guys.
Go do your taxes.
Guys,
Go do them.
Dirk,
I need you to go under the table,
Kirk,
okay?
get to the fire
I
escape.
need you to get to the fire
fire
escape.
escape.
You need to go all the way
Do
down.
your taxes. There's a hit on you. There's a hit on you.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you later, Mr. Anderson.
And I will be pushing for an extension.
Avoid, don't evade. Bye,
Avoid,
guys.
don't evade. Avoid, don't evade. Avoid, don't evade.